53 DF Memphis, Flynn Broadcasting Stations.
It's time for Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here is your host, the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
As I was walking down the street one day.
Dave is not here today, although he kind of is here today because we're about to talk to him. He's on the phone line right now. They were stuck in Dallas last night, some bad weather, some tornadoes. But Dave, and I know, Dave, that game was late, 8 o'clock tip. Very rarely an 8 o'clock tip for a Tiger game, but due to TV schedules, it was a late tip. But Dave is here with us now. Dave, good morning. I'm sure you're very tired, but a great win for the Tigers last night. Dominant the whole way. What kind of confidence did that game give you last night?
I think this team has plenty of confidence. I think it sets up beautifully what we will see on Sunday. So basically last night, you got into the NCAA. You clinched second place in the American, which means you're going to play after Sunday's game. You got all the way until next Friday, and now you know you're going to play at 6 o'clock on Friday, the earlier game, which is much, much better. It was a crazy night last night. The Tigers, I mean, every day, J-Mo, I see a different crazy stat. So I were to tell you the Tigers turned the ball over 18 times, and they gave up 21 second-chance points and only scored one. So they lost 20 points off of offensive rebounds. On the road, you'd think they got killed, right?
I would,
They won the game by 19. That's because they had 21 assists on 27 buckets, 4 guys in double figures. They played great defense. The Mustangs shot 24% in the second half, so it turned out to be pretty good. I never felt like Memphis was going to lose the game, but I guess with about 10 minutes to go in the contest, it got down to 6 points.
Yeah,
and you're blowing this game. All these unforced errors. KD, I think there was some really, really nasty students that were drunk on their rear ends. Penny mentioned it in the post game. They actually had to bring extra security. There was a guy sitting next to me, in fact, that was security because they were so unruly. But I think KD got a little distracted. This was his last game. How about this? The guy went in his career at Moody 39-5.
wow,
that's pretty good. And he ended up with 23 points and 10 assists last night, a double-double. He turned the ball over 5 times because they just did some uncharacteristic things. And then it ended up being a crazy night. I've told you this before, but Penny is the slowest guy getting out of the gym in history. He signs every selfie autograph. He takes every selfie. And I think KD was lingering, but Memphis didn't get out of that gym till almost midnight, right? The game ended around 10:15, and Memphis didn't get out of that gym till almost midnight. We got to Love Field, which is very close. And because of the weather in Memphis, now, granted, there was bad weather here at 6 o'clock. There were sirens going on when we got to the gym. And I don't know, I think just north of Dallas there were tornadoes. But it was pretty severe weather and a lot of rain. And that is exactly what Memphis got at about midnight. So we get to the airport and we're told it's going to be a wait because we got to find a window in order to get your charter plane down in Memphis. The weather's that unruly. Well, that weather lingered, and I have no idea how much rain Memphis got last night. I hear it's very windy there this morning, which is worrisome because we're leaving at about 2 today. But so the first thing was at about 1 o'clock or so, they're saying we're going to wait 1 to 3 hours to see if we can land, if we can get in. If not, we got an issue because the pilots are going to time out. So the pilots can only be on duty so long. So when they saw that front lingering in Memphis, they just said, forget it. We're packing up shop. We'll bring in a new crew tomorrow. And that's where we stand. So we literally went to a hotel at about 2:30 in the morning last night. The team went to a nice one. The Slackies, as I call us, we ended up at a place that was probably a great hotel, the Sterling Hotel. It was probably Sterling in the 1950s, and they have not done a thing to it since then. Crazy.
Didn't put you up in a Westin last night. That's unfortunate.
No.
That's a shame. Did I hear this correctly? Was the gym leaking before the game?
It was. The rain came down so hard, and this gym was beautifully remodeled in 2014. There were a couple of areas where, some water leaked through. They had a couple of towels on the floor. In the end, they got that patched up quickly, though. That was not an issue. That was not the reason for a combined, what was it? The Tigers had 18 turnovers, and the Mustangs had 19. So 37 turnovers had nothing to do with leaky gyms.
Avoided the rare indoor rain delay.
Yeah. But J-Mo.
Yes, sir.
And I hear Bryant in the background. Have you guys ever seen a team get out-rebounded? First of all, the offensive rebounds were 14-9. 5 more offensive rebounds for the Mustangs. The Tigers actually out-rebounded SMU 36-33. But I don't think I've ever seen 21-1 in second chance points, and you win by 19.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, but you just named off pretty much every single hustle stat that exists, and the Tigers got beat, yet somehow still won the game by almost 20. It's truly remarkable. But I guess shooting over 50% from the field, that helps with that quite a bit.
Yeah. How about 68% in the first half?
It's crazy. Unbelievable. And that's I was surprised even. We were talking, Bryant and I were yesterday on your show, talking about how even though Kendrick Davis got to the free throw line really well in that first game against SMU, he was like 1 of 5 or 1 of 6 in the second half, was having trouble getting the ball in the basket, albeit he still had like 11 points in the half because he gets to the line so well. But it was really refreshing to see the Tigers shoot over 50% in the game.
It was. Really what I liked the best was 21 assists on 27 buckets made.
Incredible.
You know, you shoot 52% because you get good shots, right? You get good shots by sharing the ball. 4 guys in double figures, that goes a long way. And I don't know if you remember, J-Mo, but I made the comment when Keontae Kennedy went out that I really thought it would be okay because I thought Demarie Franklin would be a guy that was going to step up. I think I even mentioned I might not have mentioned it on the show, but in doing some research, when Demarie Franklin, first of all, he started at Tennessee Tech, then he went to UIC. Demarie Franklin has had 24 games with 20 or more points. Now, he'd never sniffed that in Memphis, but that part of that is Williams gets the ball so much, and Davis, of course, gets the most touches of anybody. And then Keontae Kennedy was getting touches. Franklin wasn't getting minutes, and so he wasn't getting it. Since he stole the ball and won the game against UCF, he's been a different guy. And he had 15 points last night, and you could see why he scored so many 20-point games in his career because the guy is, now that he's relaxed and has his role, he's flat out a good player. So I suspect that he's going to end up being a factor if Memphis has any kind of run.
Him and McCadden both have done a lot. Go ahead, Bryant.
Yeah, and you talk about that, 3 for 5, or 3 for 5 from 3 from Demarie. He's not really known as a three-point shooter, but knocking down threes big. But kind of on that same front with the guard play, Alex Lomax didn't play last night. I think Penny after the game said it was just precautionary reasons to kind of keep him fresh and 100% for the Houston game. What'd you think of that decision by Penny? It didn't seem like they needed him last night, pulling away at the end. But do you like kind of the idea of, like, let's rest our guy and have him 100% for the big game on Sunday?
Well, it turned out great.
Yeah.
But let me just say this, that it was a total surprise not only to me, but to Penny. Because I think you guys all know about an hour and a half, 45 minutes before the game, I taped the Penny Hardaway pregame show. Mm-hmm. In that taping, Penny told me he was going to play Malcolm Dandridge anywhere from 12 to 18 minutes, and he was going to pay Alo 20 minutes or more.
Oh, wow.
Because he had shaken off the rust. So he was definitely in the game plan. And then he said on our post-game show that right before the game, Alo said, I don't feel really great. If you don't need me, I think let's save me for Houston. So it was really Alo's decision. It was totally precautionary. And he's going to play against Houston. They just rested him to make sure he is absolutely 100% for Sunday morning.
What do you think? You mentioned that you think this team's playing with a lot of confidence. Clearly, other than the hustle stats we talked about, but some of that is, they're shooting, like you said, over 60% in the first half, over 50% from the game. You're not going to win a whole lot of hustle stats, especially when it comes to offensive rebounds, because you're not missing. So what kind of confidence do you think this gives them going into the Houston game? I mean, if you want to have your best game shooting the ball, you'd like it to be before you play the number one team in the country on your home court.
This team is, I can't gauge it. I really don't know. I think they believe that they're good enough to beat anybody. I know when they walked off the floor at the Fertitta Center in Houston a week and a half ago, like they felt they could beat them, and that was without Kendrick Davis. They learned how to play without Kendrick Davis in the second half of that game. They won that second half, and but here's what worries me. They may have confidence. What worries me is rebounding, because they're a good rebounding team. They got that kid, Roberts, who I think is maybe their most valuable guy. Most people would say Marcus Sasser, but, they got the freshman Walker, who's on draft boards, that is a good rebounder, and then they got Roberts, who's averaging, I think in conference play, 8 or 9 rebounds a game. And so I don't know how you're going to stop that tandem when you couldn't stop a very mediocre SMU rebounding team. Coming into that game in conference, SMU was -4 in rebounds. And, Memphis was behind in that category the whole night. They ended up getting him at the end. And a lot of that was finally they locked down the last 10 minutes defensively. And SMU was taking just some bad shots that were easy rebounds. The thing that concerns me the most going into the Houston game will be, can the Tigers rebound? Because if they can't, it could be trouble. And the combination of Shad and Sasser last night against Wichita State, those two guards combined for 49 points. So they're going to have to play some perimeter defense too.
When you talk about rebounding and the bigs for Houston, how big is Malcolm Dandridge going to have to be Sunday in that game against Houston? He only played 6 minutes in that first game. That was his first game back.
Limited minutes last night too, right?
Yeah.
Well, he played 12 and a half minutes last night, and Penny thought he played well. And Penny knows a lot more about it than me, but I did not think it was a great game for Malcolm.
No.
I thought Malcolm, first of all, he got sort of shaken up early. I thought he wanted out. Penny kept him in. Penny said he was going to take him out. In fact, he got KO up to replace him, and Malcolm said, no, let me stay in. So I did not think it was a great night for Malcolm. They set him up beautifully. He had 2 dunks, so he scored 4 points. But in 12 minutes, he had 1 rebound and 1 steal that was actually a deflected ball that came up to him.
And 4 fouls.
He's going to have to play better. Yeah. He is going to have to play a lot better. They need Malcolm Dandridge to play like Malcolm Dandridge played against Alabama before he got hurt, against Auburn when he was starting to get in shape and really run and didn't have rust. They need that guy if they're going to, 1, beat Houston, and 2, make a deep run. He's got to play 15 minutes, that's all, 15, 16 minutes, get 6 to 8 points, get 6, 7 rebounds. If that guy is there, block a shot or 2, I'm telling you, Memphis can go a ways. Now, I think KO was upset because he got up to play, then he didn't play. He never played a minute. And, he had played collegiately last year at UT Arlington, which is part of the Dallas Metroplex, probably had people there. And so I think he was a little upset that he did not get to play. So I have no idea how he's feeling today.
Well, Malcolm, I agree with what you said about Malcolm, in particular how well he played earlier in the year. I look back to not only those games you mentioned, but that entire Orlando tournament. Even though he didn't necessarily have world-beating rebounding numbers, he was a presence when it came to rebounding, whether it just be boxing out his guy and allowing the Tigers to cumulatively get defensive rebounds. And like you said, getting into better shape as the early season went on, which I know you and I have talked about it a lot. That's been the biggest question mark with him. Is there enough time for him to get to that point, or has this injury totally derailed his season? Do you have confidence that he can get to that point? Maybe not by Sunday, but maybe as they go through the conference tournament, is there enough time for him to get back to that form?
Well, I think he can get a little bit better than what he is. Can he get back to where he was? That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, think about this, though. This is the tough stretch, right? So those guys got the same amount of sleep I did. We're talking about we're working on 5 or 6 hours, and now you're not even leaving Dallas until you got to be at the airport at 1. Okay. If we can get in today, right? That means limited practice tonight. You didn't get out of the gym till midnight last night. You're playing not at 7 o'clock on Sunday. You're playing at 11 a.m. So it's absolutely tough to get your legs back under you, especially for a big guy who's hurting all the time like Malcolm Dandridge. So, but here's the good part of that is after Sunday, you don't play again till Friday.
Yeah.
And you don't play again till Friday at 6 o'clock. So I think he can do a lot of rehab, a lot of conditioning in those 3 or 4 days where you won't have games, and maybe that will help him out. But he's an important part, especially if you're not going to play KO.
And 3 days off of class, the rare 5-day weekend. I mean, how about that?
And they got spring break next week.
And you had spring break next week, so at least they're rested in that regard. Go ahead, Brian.
So I know the big game everyone's looking forward to is Sunday against Houston for good reason, but kind of looking towards the AAC tournament, it looks like if everything holds like it is right now, Memphis locked up the 2 seed last night, and they would either play SMU or UCF if everything holds down there through the end of the regular season. How much does a rematch against UCF, a team that beat you in double overtime at their place and then almost beat you at home, how much does that worry you in a quarterfinal matchup for the Tigers?
A ton. I don't want to see them.
No.
I'd rather play SMU. I'd rather play the USF ECU winner, and that's what you would have gotten if you finished third. So finishing second, you do get the better time slot, but you get the tougher matchup. If that's the way it all shakes out, right? I mean, I think that's pretty well set on the bottom, though. But I was looking at this last night. So Houston's 16-1, they're number 1. Memphis, number 2 at 13-4. That is now totally clinched. Here's what we got, though. You got Tulane at 10-6. They got 2 games to go. They got to play ECU again to just beat them. And then they finish with Temple. Temple and Cincinnati are 10-7. Tulane could slip all the way to 5.
Oh, wow. That is true. I didn't even think about that. I thought the lowest they could slip was 4, but 5, that is in play. Huh.
I guess with tiebreakers, all 3 of those teams could finish at 11-7.
Yeah.
And in fact, there's a chance, a decent chance, that would be the case. I don't think it changes down low, though. So it actually might have suited Memphis better to finish third.
It might have. Who would you be more scared to see in the conference tournament, UCF or Tulane?
Well, either way, you if it started today,
you'd see both of them.
The odds are you're going to see both.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing about UCF is that they played it's been a tough matchup for Memphis.
Yeah.
Tulane plays that 5 out. Memphis is not good against the 5 out teams. So, but Memphis has to figure it out. I mean, they need to make their run right now. I think, I haven't seen any bracketology, but I got to figure Memphis is as solid a 10 team as there is, a 10 seed, no matter what happens the rest of the way. And if they were to beat Houston and then make a run, I think they could get to, I don't know, maybe 7 would be the max, the ceiling, even though a lot of people think their ceiling is 9.
Yeah.
This guy
But that's the craziest thing in the world. Because let me ask you this. After Kentucky lost to Vanderbilt at home, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Vandy goes to Rupp Arena, and they win that game. They were 85 in the net. I think Tennessee's like 22 in the net. How many spots did you think that Vandy might move up? Because we're trying to figure, Could they move and become a quad one for Memphis? Could they get to 75? You know what that win at Rupp Arena against a low 20 seat net was?
What was
One spot. They went from 85 to 84.
Wow.
Please explain the net to me. West Virginia is 23 in the net. They're 5'11 in the Big 12.
Seems like Vanderbilt's in a similar spot as A&M last year. They need to win that tournament if they're going to get in, which is a shame because they've had one of the best. At least Jerry Stackhouse might have saved his job. I mean, with this late season, absolutely. But late season run.
I think he's got a decent recruiting class coming in too. So
that's what I've heard.
I think he saved his job. But it is crazy. And now looking at these matchups, and I must confess, right before I was trying to figure this out myself, and I did figure it out like you, Brian. So apparently we're right. But in the long run, now I think I'd rather have played Tyler Harris in USF because I'd rather play the USF ECU winner than I would the SMU UCF winner.
100%.
Because Central Florida, you're lucky to be 1-1 with.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Dave,
although you know what, that's about right because Memphis really should have beaten them. They blew that game. They had a 15-point lead in Orlando. The game in Memphis, they probably shouldn't have won, and that was a hope and a prayer when no fouls were called to steal and a great layup by Demarie Franklin.
Well, Dave, I looked up Jerry Palm's bracketology because this guy, Joe Lunardi's getting lazy on us.
Where's he been all
Hadn't
week?
updated it since March 1st. I mean, get with it, Joe. It's tournament time.
I need every day.
But he has Memphis Jerry Palm.
Doesn't Joe make his money from that?
That's what I'm saying. Well, Jerry Palm, though, has Memphis as firmly as a 10 seed right now. They play Creighton, a 7 seed. They'd play the winner of Kansas State and UNC Asheville. I don't know if I want to see Kansas State either, but 10 seed seems very comfortable right now, no matter what happens against Houston and in the American Conference Tournament. I know we're not doing picks today, Dave, so there's no stakes involved in this, but I do want to ask you, Ken Pomeroy has Houston winning by 6. You want to go more than 6 or less than 6, or the Tigers win?
I think Memphis is going to beat Houston straight up. How's that?
I love it.
Great answer.
I love it.
I first of all, that matchup with Creighton worries me. Anybody that's got a really good big, and they do. They got a 7-footer who's a really good player. When Creighton went south this year is when that kid got hurt. They got a lot of good pieces. So that team scares me, but that's for another day. They don't have that player. They got a good player in Roberts, as I mentioned. The Tigers really did a good job on Walker. They did a decent job on Sasser and Shed in the game in Houston. I think Memphis is going to beat Houston. I think they will. Oh, by the way, I'm going to throw this out. A friend of mine has floor seats. They're across. I'm pretty sure they are across from the visitors' bench. They're 2 seats. He wants $1,000 per ticket that will go to St. Jude. So a $2,000 donation for floor seats right across from what will be the Houston bench for Sunday's game. If anybody wants that, either call or text us at 901-360-8255, and then I'll get your information, and I'll try to put you together with the person auctioning off those tickets for St. Jude.
What a great deal.
Awesome.
What a great deal. You get to be at the game. And I'll tell you what, I like your pick, Dave, because there is nothing more hostile in college basketball than a home court advantage.
And a stripe out.
And it's a stripe out, and it seems like Memphis is going to have a big one on Sunday.
Well, and last I looked, they had less than 1,000 tickets. That was 2 days ago.
That's what I've heard as well.
This has a chance to be a true sellout. And just so you know, Memphis has never beaten a number one. They've been a number one. They have never beaten a number one team. They've only hosted a number one team. It was Arkansas in the 90s, one time. So this is history. It's going to be incredible in FedEx Forum, Sunday morning, 11 o'clock, breakfast with the Tigers.
I think John Cougar Mellencamp has a song that says, "Your time is now." And the Tigers' time is right now. Thanks.
I love it, J-Mo.
That's right. Thanks so much, Dave. Safe travels
Dave.
today. Seriously, I hope you guys get home safe and everything.
Hey, and just a reminder, Andy Schiffman is coming up next to talk Grizz, and they're in Denver tonight. That should be incredible. And then there's a guy named Brian Dacus who always joins us on Friday. Oh, he's already there.
He's already here. Well, thanks so much again, Dave.
Thanks,
We're going
Dave.
to talk to Andy next. And again, safe travels.
You got it. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Dave Woloshin with us today. It's his show, Wolo and Friends.
Got
so
me fired up there at the end.
I'm telling you what. Well, I mean, a home court advantage is big time. It cannot be understated.
Well, and less than 1,000 tickets available is also big.
That's right. It's going to be big
Mega
time.
home court advantage.
We're going to take a break. Andy Schiffman on the NBA next.
Be sure to follow us at Sports 56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows, stay up to date with station events, and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports 56 WHBQ.
Hi, folks. Bob Burton of the Sunrise Buick GMC truck. Thinking about buying a new or used car or truck? Remember, the selection's better and the savings are bigger at Sunrise. Over 600 new cars and trucks to choose from. Factory rebates up to $1,000 and interest rates low as 2.9. Bad credit? It's okay. At Sunrise, we've got a financing plan for everybody. SunriseMemphis.com. We're saving you money. It's just the way you're doing business. Covington, Pike, Wolf Chase, and Collierville. We make it fun to buy a car again. Check out the all-new Sunrise Truck Corral. Huge selection of nothing but trucks. All makes, all models, all prices, all trucks, all the time. Next to Sunrise Wolf Chase.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. In these uncertain economic times, there are so many things as a contractor and a business owner that I cannot control. The rising cost of materials, not to mention fuel and transportation costs. In the last 2 years, shingle prices have almost doubled and commercial materials have doubled. And I don't have to tell you what fuel costs these days. But you know what I can control? How much markup I put on a project. I have always prided myself in knowing I never gouge a customer. But in an effort to ensure my crews have work and my customers are being treated fairly, I have lowered my profit margin, hoping to give you a price you can live with and keeping my crews busy. So if you need a roof or gutters, please give us a call. Five Ash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. Five Ash Roofing, a proud sponsor of Tiger Athletics and a member of the Tigers home team. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Five Ash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-306-8158 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-306-8158. That's 800-306-8158. What do you have to lose? Call 800-306-8158. Again, 800-306-8158.
For the latest from the world of golf, tune in every Saturday morning from 9 to 11 for the Golf Shop Radio Show, presented by PlayGolfMyrtleBeach.com, the golf capital of the world. Hosts Mark Greenhelge and Matt Blanchard talk golf from tee to green and everything in between. If you like golf, you're going to love Golf Shop Radio. Before you tee up, drop on in. Welcome to the Golf Shop here on Sports 56. Real sports talk.
Homer Skelton Hyundai Genesis in Olive Branch has an offer you can't refuse. They will pay you to do business with them if you want luxury. And I'm talking the Genesis G70 car. If you would love to have that kind of new technology, they will give you a $1,000 rebate when you finance with Genesis Motor Finance. In other words, they'll pay you $1,000 to do business with them, and you get brand new luxury. You can't beat it. That's Homer Skelton Hyundai Genesis, right at the corner of Craft Road and Highway 78 in Olive Branch. Homer Skelton Hyundai Genesis in Olive Branch, where customer retention is amazing. There's a reason. They take care of you with a team that's been together for a long time. Whether it's finance or whether it's service, you can't beat them. Homer Skelton Hyundai Genesis.
I only do one thing, residential real estate sales. This is Sheldon Rosengarten with Mark Spensdorf Realtors.
I'm Kelly Erb and work with Sheldon at Mark Spensdorf Realtors. Sheldon, what happens if someone needs help with a commercial or an investment property?
Kelly, over the years, I've had many people ask if we could help them buy, rent, or sell commercial properties, investment, warehouse spaces, or land. But as Clint Eastwood said, a man has to know his limitations, and I know mine. We work with specialists in the real estate industry who are trained and know a whole lot more than we do in commercial sales, leasing, and so forth. So remember what people say about selling houses when you want the job done. Who do you call, Kelly?
You call or email Sheldon or me, Kelly Erb, at 355-3830. And if it's not involving residential, check with us anyhow, as we know people who know what they're doing in other fields.
That's Kelly Erb at 355-3830, or reach me, Sheldon Rosengarten, at MemphisRelocate.com or 483-0546.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Sorry to disappoint you. I'm not the voice of the Tigers. Dave Woloshin, we just talked to him. He is in Dallas. He will be traveling back this afternoon, hopefully all weather cooperating with their travels. He'll be back this afternoon, and he'll be back Monday. I'm Jay Morgan Harder, Brian Takis in here with me, and I'm really excited to talk to our next guest, and not just because he represents one of my favorite players and one of my growing favorite players, that being George Niang and Santi Aldama. It's Andy Schiffman from Priority Sports and Entertainment. We're going to talk to NBA with him. And Andy, my first question for you, since we're in Memphis, has to pertain to the Grizzlies, and then I'll get more into a wider scale NBA conversation with you. But the Grizzlies play the Nuggets tonight, and I think surprising to me, especially after that Sixers game, they really dominated the Nuggets on their home floor. Do you expect something similar tonight in Denver, or do you think this is maybe a big revenge game for the Nuggets, or is it kind of meaningless, not meaningless, but has a little lower meaning for both teams because it seems like no one's going to catch the other one here? Good morning.
Good morning, Jay. No, I think it's a huge game. I mean, you're talking about now we're in the back half of the NBA season. This for sure, it probably means more for Memphis to obviously, kind of take stock in where they're at with the team, because this is one of the bigger games they've had recently on the road here. And B, just to try and do everything they can to solidify staying in that 2 or 3 seed round there. And this is a huge win for them because you got Sacramento. I believe they're creeping up behind. There's a lot of moving pieces in the top 4 there in the West. So, look, I'm going to give the edge to Denver because they're just a great team. Recently, you've seen Memphis drop some here and there. I think they're kind of getting back on track now, but I just think Denver's clicking on all cylinders. And they did lose, obviously, towards the end of February in Memphis, 94-112. But I still give the edge to Denver, especially at home for tonight.
I would agree. Tough to play at altitude. I think it's always underrated in that regard. What about a larger scale conversation about the Grizzlies here? Still missing Steven Adams. No word if he's going to be back tonight. We kind of thought it might be tonight, but still missing him. The Suns, the new look Suns, are 6 losses back of the Grizzlies, 5 games back in the standings, and the Kings are 2 games back in the standings, 2 losses back as well. Do you think the Grizzlies are solidly in the second seed? Is the Suns 5 games, is that too much here late in the season to make up that ground, do you think?
Well, I said it last week, Jay. I don't think Memphis stays at the second seed.
I agree.
And it's less about taking anything away from the Grizzlies. I think it's more about, like we've talked about, Phoenix added Durant. He plays first game the other night against Charlotte, which is a hard barometer because it's against Charlotte. And he's here in Chicago playing the Bulls tonight. But like you said, they're 10 games back of first place, 5 back of the Grizzlies. They're sitting pretty solidly in the 4th spot right now. I think they're going to creep up, and they very well could overtake Memphis to get to the 2, potentially 3 seed. And then you got Sacramento, who's right there nipping at the heels of Memphis, who's also a very good team, a very strong team. So again, I don't necessarily see Memphis just crumbling and collapsing here, but they have a very tough month of March if you look at their upcoming schedule. And you've got 2 very good, very hot teams in Sacramento and Phoenix right behind the Grizzlies. I mean, just looking at the Grizzlies and their upcoming schedule, right? You got a West Coast trip, Denver, Clippers, Lakers. All of those will be very tough victories to be had. Even the Lakers without LeBron, you're in L.A. They are playing better as a team. And then you come home and you play Golden State next Thursday, Dallas, both at home. Again, they are home games, but two playoff level teams. Dallas obviously has dropped some recently. They won, I believe it was last night. They ended up winning at home against Philadelphia, but then you go to Dallas and then to Miami, two additional tough games. So they got a tough month of March, and you finish off March with back-to-back home games against the Clippers, who have been playing really well since the trade deadline. So I haven't really dove in depth with Phoenix's and Sacramento's schedule for the month of March. But again, like, the Grizzlies absolutely have to go out there and get two of these three road games in this West Coast swing, and they have to take care of business at home to really hang on to that second seed, because then you get into April and you're talking about less than a month left of the regular season.
Yeah, scary proposition. They need Steven Adams back for that, too, big time. I'm not sure you listed those teams. I'm not sure what seed you want. I mean, the proposition of playing Clippers is the 7, Mavs is the 6 right now, Warriors are the 5. Who knows where you fall to? I'm not sure I want to play any of those three teams, but there's maybe nobody in the West I'd want to play. Speaking of those teams, the Suns, the Mavericks, and the Clippers, big additions that they made. Obviously, the Suns is probably the most notable one with Kevin Durant, but last night, Kyrie Irving and Luka both scored 40 in the game, and meanwhile Russell Westbrook is not being guarded for the Clippers, but they got a good team regardless. Kind of rank those three in terms of their additions they made. How big a difference do you think those three teams are going to have with their new additions?
Sure. Well, I think Phoenix, obviously adding Durant, or adding a mega superstar, and I would put them at the top of the list. Now you got a healthy Devin Booker back, and all those guys are relatively unselfish superstars that guys like to play with. So I think out of those three, you're going to see those Phoenix emerge at the top of those three teams you mentioned with the Clippers, Dallas, and Phoenix. And Dallas obviously made a huge splash. I want to see how it works. I mean, it worked out last night.
Right.
The 76ers, they just completely collapsed there in the third quarter, and they went out to like a 15-0 run to start the fourth, but Dallas held on, and Kyrie and Luka stepped up when their team needed them. But then you look at the previous games where they lose. They were up huge I believe it was last Sunday. They were up huge at home against the Lakers, and they blew that game.
Right.
I think they blew another one after that, if I remember correctly. So I think they're still working out some chemistry kinks, let's say. You've got two ball-dominant guards in Luka and Kyrie, and again, how is that going to play out in a long 7-game series come playoffs? I don't know. It's good that they still have over a month left to get assimilated with one another, to play with one another. But it just still, for me, long term, it remains to be seen what success they'll have. And look, the Clippers, they added Eric Gordon. They added one of our guys, Mason Plumlee. Obviously, they have Russell Westbrook. Bones Highland, they added some point guard depth, which they really needed from Denver. But when you have a healthy PG and Kawhi, and then you add a guy like Mason, who is a double-double machine in Charlotte, and maybe he doesn't have that same productivity in LA, but he's still able to dominate the glass and be a great rim protector when he stays out of foul trouble, which the Clippers badly needed. And then if Russell Westbrook is Russell Westbrook that we all know and love, so to speak, and he had his head on straight, they can be very dangerous. You mentioned them right now sitting in the 7th spot. I do not believe for 1 second they're going to stay in the 7th spot. I think they're going to creep up into the top 6. I really like them. They're very good. They're well coached. So I think Phoenix, definitely won the trade deadline among those three teams, but it might be a toss-up for me between the Clippers and Dallas.
I agree with you. I love the Clippers and the additions they made outside of Russell Westbrook. You named a ton of them, too. And Stan Van Gundy agrees with you as well. He said even before they made additions, he thought they might be the deepest team in the league. And then you add guys like Eric Gordon and Mason, all those guys you named. It's huge additions. One more question about the West, and I want to get to the Eastern Conference with you. I'm kind of just going down the standings here, essentially, and I don't mean to leave the Blazers out, but I'm going to here. There's really only 2 spots for these 4 teams. I'll do the Blazers instead of the Thunder. I was going to do the Thunder. Forget the Thunder for a second. Let's say the Lakers, Blazers, Timberwolves, and Jazz, assuming the Pelicans can get healthy, they're in that play-in spot. 2 spots for those other 4 teams. Which 2 teams do you think have the best chance to do it? Maybe not the best chance to do it. Which of those 4 teams between the Timberwolves, Jazz, Lakers, and Blazers do you think are the 2 best to make that play-in spot?
Well, Jay, I was really high on the Lakers, but now with LeBron out for an extended period of time, it remains to be seen what their remaining season will look like. I want to like Portland. Obviously, Damian Lillard, and he's going to put the team on his back and crush it and beat Damian Lillard. I don't know. I don't know if I believe in them. I would say, what would you say, Minnesota, New Orleans, Portland, and Lakers?
No, I'm leaving New Orleans out. Let's say Minnesota, the Jazz, Lakers, and Blazers.
Yeah, I would probably say the Lakers and the Jazz. I don't know. Minnesota, I've watched them enough recently. I mean, they did just get a huge win the other night in L.A. I don't know. I don't believe in them long term. I think the Lakers can kind of tread water and hang on, and then if they can get a healthy LeBron back at some point before the end of the season, I think that'll really catapult them into trying to lock in one of those top 10 playoff spots. So I'm going to say the Lakers and the Jazz.
It seems like the Danny Ainge, it seems like Lauri Markkanen is the bane of Danny Ainge's existence there. He's trying to everything he can to make sure they keep that play-in spot, and I'm not sure they even want it. They might want to get in the lottery this year too, so it'll be interesting to see. Going to the Eastern Conference, I should say Andy Schiffman from Priority Sports and Entertainment joining us today. I haven't said that yet. Going over to the Eastern Conference, at the top, the Bucks just passed the Celtics on a 16-game win streak, an incredible stretch that they've had here. It's been unbelievable. Do you buy that they are the best team in the East, or is that just a seeding thing? Would you still take the Celtics if all things considered? Or I'll throw a third team in there, the Sixers. Are the Sixers the best team in the East? Which team do you think right now you have the most confidence in to win this Eastern Conference?
Well, Jay, I watch every Sixers game for your boy George Niang.
Love that guy.
I want the Sixers to do well. And you saw what happened last night. You know, they just collapsed there in the third. So I don't put Philadelphia at the top. I think maybe 2 months ago I would have. I don't put them at the top at all. I love Boston, but you cannot discount what Milwaukee's doing. I think Milwaukee by far right now is the best team in the NBA. I think Milwaukee and Denver, obviously that's lazy of me. That's easy of me. Both number one seeds in each conference, respectively. But there's a reason why. And so I think Milwaukee's the best team in the NBA right now. And then you look at their upcoming schedule. They've got at home this weekend Philadelphia, which is winnable. Then they go on the road, Washington, who has played significantly better recently. And we've got our guy Bradley Beal back healthy, playing great. Kuzma's playing well. I got Corey Kispert on that team. He's knocking down shots. He played really well last night. They've got a couple nice wins. But again, it's Milwaukee. They should win that. Then you go to Orlando. You should win that. Brooklyn at home. You should win that. Then you go out west. And even at Golden State, Sacramento, and Phoenix, I mean, Milwaukee can easily take 2, if not 3 of those 3 games. So I think they're going to keep rolling. I don't see Milwaukee slowing down at all. I would love to see a Boston-Milwaukee matchup in the Eastern Conference Finals. I think that would be must-see TV. I think that might even be more competitive than an actual NBA Finals, given the parity of those two teams. But right now, I would put Milwaukee at the top by far. And then Boston. And then Philadelphia, and the one team in the East that I am keeping an eye on, they're 9-1 in the last 10 games, Jay, is the Knicks.
I was about to ask you about the Knicks, too. Between the Knicks and another series contender that's right above them in the standing are the Cavaliers as well. Are they series contenders right now? Do you think they could win a first-round matchup, either one of those teams?
I think either one of them can, for sure. I mean, Cleveland, obviously, with Darius Garland and especially Donovan Mitchell, when they're both healthy, they're almost unbeatable. They just lost to Boston on the road couple days ago by 4, but New York, I would give the edge to Cleveland, but New York is a dangerous team. They're fun to watch. They're very deep. They made the move for Josh Hart at the trade deadline, which is another guard option for them off the bench. Obviously, you got R.J. Barrett, Julius Randle, young rising star in Quentin Grimes, who's capable to go out there and knock down 5 or 6 threes. Emmanuel Quickly, who's, for me, a little volatile, hit or miss. But I think the Knicks could be a dangerous first-round matchup for a team in that maybe if let's say they're in the bottom half of the playoffs come playoff time in the East, it's not – I think that series would be a competitive one, depending on who they're playing. Could the Knicks win a first-round matchup and pull an upset? They could, but I think they would definitely push it to the maximum number of games and make things competitive for sure.
I love those names you just named. Obviously, Brunson and Randall are the horses of the team.
Yeah.
But the names you named between Grimes, I love Grimes. He hit 6 threes the other night. I love that guy. Iman Quickly plays great defense off the bench too, and like you said, kind of hit or miss scoring. And I feel like I see a different hustle play from Josh Hart on Twitter every single night of just doing some of the dirty work. Those guards are scary. I love them. My last question for Andy Schiffman here before we have to take a break, goes kind of to the play-in spot of the Eastern Conference. And I was listening to Bill Simmons talk the other day with Mike Schur, two Boston guys, love the Celtics. They both said that their biggest fear being the 2 seed is a potential first-round matchup with the Miami Heat. Obviously, the Miami Heat don't have a great point differential. They don't score a lot of points. They're defensive-centric. They certainly don't hit shoot threes well. Are the Miami Heat, can they just turn it on the playoffs? Are they a serious contender and that it's going to give whoever they play in the first round, whether it be the Celtics, the Bucks, the Sixers, whoever it might be, serious problems?
I don't think so, Jay. I don't think I look at them as a serious issue. Obviously, in some of the playoffs, you can't take any matchup for granted. But, I don't look at whoever's playing Miami and think that, okay, well, this series is going to go 7 games and it's going to really come down to the wire. Obviously, I think Miami, especially at home, they're definitely capable of winning some games. But if you're Boston, let's say, and you're getting matched up with Miami, I think that could go 5, maybe 6 games. But I wouldn't have Miami as a contender to upset one of the top few seeds in the East and then keep advancing. But again, you never know. I just think in a long-term playoff series, more often than not, long-term, the better team is going to emerge victorious. And between Milwaukee, Boston, and Philadelphia over Miami, I'm picking one of those former 3 all day, every day. I'm really keeping an eye on who's going to lock up the 8th spot between Atlanta and Washington. Like I mentioned, Washington, who's a game back of Atlanta, they've played significantly better. And if we have Beal healthy and playing well, like he has been, I think they could overtake Atlanta and maybe even make a run for 7th spot. I don't buy Atlanta. I think maybe after the trade deadline, things are kind of calming down there. They got a couple nice wins at home last week against Cleveland and Brooklyn. And Washington got a huge win in Atlanta the other day. I don't know. I just think long-term, I don't see sustained success and them kind of climbing up the playoff ladder this last month and a half of the season.
And Washington, a big win last night over the team right above them in the standings, the Raptors. Andy, thank you so much. Andy Schiffman, Priority Sports and Entertainment, sports agent for Santi Aldama, and one of my favorite players, George Niang. Thanks so much, Andy. We'll talk to you again next week.
All right, take care. Thanks, Jay.
Andy Schiffman. I love that guy. I love talking hoops, man. I'm just a hoops-talking fanatic.
Yeah, you
Now,
are.
I say that, but I let you dominate the segment with Dave Woloshin.
Well, you're an NBA guy.
Yeah.
I'm more of a college guy.
That's right.
A little give and take from both of us. You know?
That's a good team, maybe.
That's right.
Which one of us can talk football?
You're wearing the XFL.
Oh, I got the XFL. You know what we should do next?
XFL talk.
XFL talk next.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
I know you're thinking about pools and patios right now. Don't deny it. They're on your mind. So it's a good thing that Family Leisure is having their preseason patio and pool sale. It's like they're mind readers. You can buy now and save big with the area's largest selection of patio furniture. You want free layaway? Done. You want special financing? Done. You want to be ready to enjoy your backyard just as soon as spring hits? Family Leisure has you covered. Patio and pool season's not that far away. So now's the time to take advantage of this fantastic early bird pricing special. Now here comes the really special part. If you mention this commercial, you get half off delivery and installation. I'll let that sink in for a second. You heard me right, my friends. You mentioned this very commercial, and Family Leisure will give you half off delivery and installation. The preseason patio and pool sale is happening now at Family Leisure, Whitten Road at I-40, where family and fun come together.
Have you been looking for a cigar lounge that's laid back and offers style and a full bar and a great selection of cigars? Now let me tell you about the G-Spot Cigar Lounge, Memphis' premier cigar lounge offering a wide selection of cigars, open 7 days a week starting at 12 noon for your smoking pleasure. Come kick back, enjoy a beer or a cocktail and a cigar while watching sports on one of their several TVs. G-Spot Cigar Lounge on Instagram and Facebook at the G-Spot Memphis, located at 6135 Mount Moriah Road, Suite 116.
Don't risk getting stranded with a bad battery. Let the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts test your battery for free. If it needs to be replaced, get up to a $15 O'Reilly gift card after rebate with purchase of select Superstart batteries. For power, performance, and reliability, choose Superstart batteries at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Is your wife asking you to stop eating junk food? Well, we have you covered at Humdinger's. It's quick and it's healthy, and most important, it tastes amazing. With many choices from salmon salad to rainbow trout and grilled asparagus. Come visit us for lunch at Humdinger's, 6300 Poplar Avenue. So good, Coach Penny eats with us weekly. Don't forget, Humdinger's offers full-service catering for weddings, social events, or your corporate lunches. You can call 901-260-8292 to find out more.
There's an institution in East Memphis that I love talking about. It's the Spirit Shop at 4848 Poplar Avenue, right down the street from Clark Tower, and it looks like a log cabin. It's been around Memphis since 1969 with a family-owned, friendly, knowledgeable sales staff that is just a wonderful place to go. I love going in and talking wine or bourbons, and they've got such great selection. So if you've not visited the Spirit Shop in a while, it's been remodeled. You'll love what you see when you need spirits. Tell Eddie Wolo said hello. When you think about insurance and you want great value without sacrificing great service, I want you to think one place, the Eflin Insurance and the entire Eflin Insurance team. Matt and his group of professionals will access 10 leading companies to find the right home and auto program that fits your budget and your absolute needs. The Eflin Insurance team, the number 386-GER, 386-4777.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Sorry to disappoint you. Dave Woloshin is in Dallas. He's not here.
Too bad.
We talked to him earlier, though.
We did.
And he'll be back later today, God willing. All the weather complies. I
think all the bad weather's out. I think we're done with that.
Still a little windy, though.
Yeah, they said the wind's going to continue. Gusts up to about 50 miles an hour.
And that plane will shake when you land if it's windy. I'm telling you right now.
Heck, my car was shaking earlier.
Wow. Your truck.
My truck. Big old truck.
Your truck driving fool.
That's right.
Did you see the story about the XFL?
Oh, my God.
From Dov Kleiman this morning?
You're wearing all that gear. Are you proud to be an XFL guy today?
Dov Kleiman reports on the NFL. He does a really good job on Twitter. I see his stuff all the time. The Guardians of the XFL. Where do the Guardians play, Bryant?
Orlando.
Nailed it. Where's my bell? Don't have it out yet. But yes, they play in Orlando.
That's the team Paxton plays for.
They cut quarterback Quentin Dormady.
Where did he play college ball? I think Syracuse.
I thought he went to Tennessee.
Oh, yeah, he did.
Is that right?
I think so. Dormady went to Tennessee.
Yeah, he played. Quentin Dormady went to Tennessee. That's right.
Yeah.
And then he transferred to Houston for a year and then to Central Michigan. So former volunteer quarterback of the Orlando Guardians in the XFL, Quentin Dormady, after he allegedly gave an opposing team plays from the Guardians playbook, the team heard about it, investigated it, and then they released Dormady. They also removed his player profile and all of his statistics from the XFL website.
But Rock wasn't happy about that.
And the Orlando Guardians is the team where Terrell Buckley, the head coach, came out at halftime, I believe it was, or coming out of the tunnel after halftime before the game says, I don't know, man. We just need to get new players on this team. These guys suck. That's a great point. I had a ton of confidence, vote of confidence from the team.
Love it.
It's going to be a big weekend in the XFL, though.
Maybe bet against Orlando this week.
No, they released him. They play the Renegades, Dallas Renegades.
The whole he said, let's release the whole team sucks.
Maybe he was just voicing his frustration for the quarterback. Though. All these games on FX, except for the last one on Sunday, 7 p.m. That one's on ESPN2. The one on Saturday, only one Saturday, 6 p.m., the Sea Dragons and the Vegas Vipers. You're a Sea Dragons guy, Brian.
Seattle.
However, they have not won a game, but you know who else hadn't won a game? The Vegas Vipers. Should be a great weekend in the XFL. Big weekend for the Tigers, big night for the Grizzlies. We will see you Monday.
Homer Skelton Hyundai Genesis.